Hey, I'm AJ,
I'm Zach.
and this is Fresh Tactics. Hey guys, welcome to the cast. Today we are going to be talking about whether being a gifted athlete makes it more difficult to be a great coach. I.e., what did you say? That old adage? I'm not very good at
I'm
sayings.
not very good at dropping the word "dodge" into anything.
Well, first of all, it's not a dodge, but yes.
I can't even. All right.
It's all the French I
Yeah.
took in Canada.
All right. Yeah, I was just in Paris. So I definitely didn't have any French.
I told Zach to tell the person that was taking his 40 euros for his overweight luggage, "Je ne suis pas contente," but he did not say any of that. He said he just glared, and that
What
was
did that
enough.
even mean?
I'm not happy.
Great. That's exactly.
But it sounds way more aggressive when you say it in French, right?
Yes, it does. Well, freaking David tried to call down the waiter by saying, "What's the word for boy?"
Fille,
No, it's
garçon,
like
garçon.
Yeah, just like out of Pulp Fiction. Just like out of Pulp.
No,
Yeah,
that
he was
did
like,
not go
garçon. And his girlfriend, like, without a cue, turns to him like, that means boy. And I'm like, dude, you've seen Pulp Fiction. Like, how are you fucking this up? Like, like totally messed it up.
Oh my gosh, I'm never traveling with Americans again. That's so embarrassing.
If you guys can track back on the cast and listen to one with David. David actually has been on the podcast, so you can.
He was the one who insisted on doing the podcast while in a park, so all you can hear is bird noises for an hour. He also yells at someone in the park during the podcast.
Yes, David randomly yells at people. But to answer your earlier question, as in like a minute ago,
Our producer Kevin is shaking his head vehemently.
like a minute ago or so, however long ago. But it's the best. How's it go? The best athletes. The best athletes make the worst coaches, and the worst athletes make the best coaches.
The best athletes.
The best. Mike Tyson fucking hard right now.
Can you expand on that one? Is he giggling?
Yeah. No. So if you've ever heard that old term, and honestly,
The old adage.
the old adage, it's so fucking pretentious. All right, like and here it is in my youth. All right, like in my
Because you're so old now.
No, I'm just talking about like in the youth of my coaching too. When I
we have a training age and a coaching age.
Yeah. When I heard that, I was like, well, that's just like something. And this goes back
That's
to like,
something that shitty athletes say to make
yeah, exactly.
themselves feel
Fuck
better.
yeah, fuck yes. I was like, this is something that you get. This is how they give hope to a shitty athlete. Because this was me coming like when I was like, I used to think about like they would say this about people that were football players and stuff like that. They're like, the worst athletes are going to make the best coaches. And
you wash out, and
that's
you're
where
like, at least you have a career in
that's
sport.
where that line comes from. It's not like a fitness industry coach thing, but like you would hear that. And when you are like thinking you're like the hot shit athlete or things like that,
Which you did, obviously.
no, I'm actually rather humble sometimes. Sometimes there's nothing wrong with being confident. Some people would call it cocky. I would call it confident.
Confident.
And, if you put in 10,000 hours doing something, you should be confident in it. If not, you've been spent 10,000 hours doing jack shit. What have you been working at getting good at?
That's a fair point.
And that actually goes to maybe you're a bad athlete. maybe you have spent 20,000 hours doing something and you still suck at it. What you could have acquired is 20,000 hours of trying to get better at it. And that is what you can take to an athlete that has a more natural skill base and actually teach them how to do. We talked about this in another cast where I was talking about, this is like, I'll keep this very brief. We talked about like I don't like to teach muscle ups because I keep it like so like basic. Like you have to be able to do blank to go forward. And that wasn't because it was hard for me to get muscle ups. Like I was going to a regionals. This is when you could just sign up for regionals. This is how long I've been doing it. And they announced there was
RIP regionals.
And they announced that I'd been CrossFitting at the time. I didn't own rings. I just trained in my like garage.
Oh, and you
carport.
had the swinging pull-up bar too.
I had a swinging pull-up bar.
That's a story for another day.
But they were like, hey, at the regionals, you have to do muscle ups that you signed up for, Zach. And I was like, shit, I should probably make sure I can do those. So like, my brother got his fucking camcorder, like the old camcorder. And I was like, you got to film me. I got to make sure I'm hitting this like standard thing they're asking for. And
what was the standard, out of curiosity?
I'm just locking. It's just like being fucking just doing CrossFit. Like it wasn't anything crazy.
Locking at your
locking out. Like I was like, am I doing this right? I don't know. Fuck. So we went down to the park and I threw my rings over a tree. I'm lucky the fucking branch didn't break and like fall on me. And I just like threw myself up. Like that weird noise I was making was me spazzing over the rings. Like I spazzed over the rings multiple times in a row. And I was like, oh, I got him. Sweet. I can do like 5 in a row. Weird.
Spoiler alert, Zach did not qualify for the CrossFit Games that year.
No, I did not. Yeah, exactly. Well, part of the problem too is I had a torn labrum from something else, so my shoulder would sublux.
Is that from the rugby days or from wrestling?
Actually, it was from construction.
Zach's lived many lives, you guys. If you don't know about the construction, we'll talk about it another day.
Well, yeah, I was stupid. I put a fucking jackhammer into a wall with my shoulder because I needed to get the job done.
Bet you weren't wearing iPro either.
Fucking no.
Why would I do
Protections for sailors. Jeez. Yeah, this is definitely we're really rocking this cast today, guys. All right, so anyways, but too loud. I'm sorry, I'm too loud. I'm getting excited here. It's funny.
So excited.
Why are you trying to kill my vibe?
Okay, keep going.
You're killing my vibe.
Kevin's gonna edit this whole thing out.
No, he's not. He thinks it's hilarious. But no, but my shoulder would sublux out, it'd pop out because when I would do muscle ups, and because I was spazzing over the rings. That's why. Just because I was athletic enough to do it didn't mean I should be doing it.
Just because you can doesn't mean you should. So, athletes, pregnant ladies, all of you, listen up.
So when I got to the bottom of like, really, it wasn't the muscle ups that were causing my shoulders to come out. It was how I was doing the fucking muscle ups. So I went back and like minute details, fixed them to a point where like my muscle ups, like people like will joke about my muscle ups because they look so rigid. And like
it's like the half kipping.
They're like
Zach's like I'm kipping so hard, and he barely moves.
Yeah, like we were on a regional team one time. Like
one time when I won the snatch ladder, I remember that.
We were talking about competitive CrossFit right now, guys.
CrossFit.
Yeah, but we went and like I ran up because we were doing a bunch of muscle ups as a team, and I ran up and I was like, "How many we got?" And like this many. I was like, "Shit!" So I jumped up.
I wasn't on the team that year.
And I ripped.
We would have had more muscles.
Oh yeah, you're right.
I'd been on the team.
But it was guys.
Yep.
Guys first.
Yep.
So the guys were like, "This is how many," and I jumped up and I ripped out a huge set, and I got done with the workout afterwards, and the guy was like, somebody like our judge was like, "Oh man, you just got up there and you pretty much were just doing them strict." And in my head, I was just kipping so big, like I was just laid out. I was like,
Zach thinks he's swinging through the air. He's barely moving.
I got the big like boom, and I look like Camille Le Bon Bisonnet, or however you say it when you say
Camille Croissant Baguette.
Yeah, thank you. Like I thought I was laid out. No, son, no. I was super stiff.
For all of you angrily writing messages, I know that's not her name. It's a Canadian joke.
Yeah, she's Canadian. She can say it. But my shoulder is fine.
But now it doesn't sublux at all anymore.
Yeah, I made a choice in the rigidity of the. Is that really? Is rigidity? Did I make the word up?
Nope. That's right.
There was an accusation before the cast of me making words up.
That one's actually a word.
All right, perfect. Rigidity. All right, we're gonna stick with it. But I made a choice to do that to keep my shoulder intact. And the reason
which was the right choice. Let's be real.
But the reason why that's important to the actual topic of what we're talking about, guys, is the fact that I was a natural athlete and I was doing something, and in doing this thing, it was really causing a lot of issues to what I actually had going on. So I had to fix it. So that was my kind of realization that I wasn't being the best athlete because I wasn't trying to do it right. Just because and we've mentioned this on another cast, we had a kid in the gym who's a friend of my nephew's who can do backflips and stuff like that, but he can't squeeze his glutes correctly, when we're doing swings. He's super athletic. Now, if you only rely on your athletics, and I'll turn this back over to you here in a second, because I might be getting away from what you're talking about. Excited. But if you only rely on your athletics, how do you communicate that to anybody? And you've all been there, either as a coach or maybe you were an athlete before you were a coach. You've met that person.
Hopefully you were an athlete before you were a coach.
You've met that person that says, "We'll just get over the rings." Mm-hmm. And I've said that before to people I know that can do it, but some people are like, "Oh, you just kind of do this and you throw yourself over." That's how you do it. I'm like, what the fuck did you just teach, dude? You didn't fucking teach anything. I guess I'll just throw it over. Oh, my shoulder popped out. Whoops, thanks, man. But there's a little bit of around the way topic on that. But I'm gonna turn this back over to you because I know this was your topic that you wanted to talk about. So I just wanted to see where your thoughts are right now at this rambling I have going on.
First of all, I think for me, it's totally true. The things that came most naturally to me, it was only one thing, Olympic lifting. After a combined 12, 14 years of dance and martial arts.
Which are actually really good things to, like, okay.
Yeah.
Super
good.
Such good
Body
skills,
awareness,
yeah.
great. I've never done a backflip. And one of my first CrossFit coaches had to teach me how to do a cartwheel because I was scared to go upside down. However, in terms of moving external objects, like we've talked about before, because I could control my own body, I was fairly good at applying that force to an external object. And Olympic lifting was far and away my favorite thing to do, up until maybe a year or two ago, just because I got to the point where I was like, oh, I can lift so heavy that I'm actually beating myself up a little bit if I'm not recovering like an athlete. And sometimes it's hard when you own a business.
Yeah.
And you're in school.
Split schedules. You were just
Split
getting your
schedules, all
master's.
of it.
Yeah, you were getting your master's.
Don't go to grad school, you guys. Just don't do it. It's not worth it. If you're in it, I'm sorry. Canadian sorry.
You can just do it. I didn't go the community college route.
Zach completed his 4-year degree in 2 years.
Total side story that you guys just need to hear, and I'll say it super quick. I was at one of my girlfriend's Christmas parties, and she's a very established law firm, and it was my first one there, and I knew who her boss was, who's not like her partner. I knew who he was. I'd heard stories about him and all this stuff, and him being like, they're very much into Cornell. But he's also like from Harvard.
Ivy League in general.
Yeah, but he also has like degrees from Harvard and everything. Like, but he associates real hard with Cornell. He loves this thing. But like, I went up to Brad, and like as I was doing it, it was like the people at the table were like sitting there. One of them's Quebecois. Yeah, she's got an accent. She's like, "What is Zach doing? Why is he? I can't stop watching this. It's like a car accident. Why is he going up to talk to Brad?" And I go up and I just start smoozing fucking Brad because I'm like,
because that's what Zach does.
I'm gonna make a good fucking impression. This is what I'm here to do. And he's like, do you know where he went, Zach? I was like, no, where'd he go? It's like Cornell. He's like, you know where Jess went, right? I was like, oh yeah, she went to Cornell. He's like, yeah, where do you think they went? Cornell. He's like, do you know where I was? I was like, let me guess. Cornell. And he's like, yeah. And he's like, where'd you go? I was like, Bellevue Community College. I just fucking laid it on. It was super fun. But go Bulldogs.
Landed me this smart, hot girlfriend.
Yep.
Bellevue Community College.
Yeah. I hung out with Brad a long time. He's a great guy. Yeah. Anyways,
great guy.
I had to get that one out.
Anyway, don't go to grad school. But however, wrapping that whole bunny trail up, it took extra work for me to get into a groove with teaching Olympic lifting and fixing some of the less common faults with the lifts, because I hadn't worked so painstakingly through every single progression, because I was relatively strong. I came into CrossFit with super good mobility. And I was that person when I very first started coaching, like, put it over your head, squat, sit down. It's not that fucking hard. Now the things that challenge me in that kind of realm would be like a corkscrew, overhead squat, or a windmill, something like that, where sometimes I'm not even necessarily teaching it, but I'm just demoing it. And then Zach has to backtrack and be like, so you can see here, AJ has freak mobility. And actually, when you do it, it might not look like that because not everyone can squat ass to grass. And that's okay. AJ, stop looking like a freak.
Yeah.
And whereas on the other side of things, like stuff like double unders, handstand push-ups, muscle-ups, even getting my strict pull-ups, handstand walking, holy shit. Anyone who knows me knows that that's not my favorite thing to do. But I think I'm better at coaching them, even though my proficiency in my athletics is not as good, because I have done every single fucking progression in order to get myself there.
Exactly. It's like 100, and it's like if this is like blinking a light off in your head, I'm like, maybe you're newer to coaching, but like it's that age old thing. Like I've been there, man. Like I had horrible with dumbbell unders. When I started, double unders were so hard for me. Like I don't know why. And I used to skip rope all the time as a wrestler, all the time, do all kinds of weird fancy tricks. Like, but if you watch Rocky, If you watch the Rocky movie, his double unders suck.
It always comes back to
They are
movies.
so labored. I'm like, oh man, yeah, that's Sly got abs from like.
That's how I
laying
used to
into it.
double under too, is the like sit up and double under at the same time. And I'll still do it if you're watching closely. But the other thing I want to say is that I got really spoiled when I was in Victoria coaching, actually at Lucas Parker's old gym at Zone back in the day. This is like being on a regionals team before they took the individual scores out, and we're like struggling to find 6 people to even be on a team, which is how I ended up on the team. As a 19-year-old, like 150-pound waif, is that Lucas is a great example of a coach who is very gifted athletically and has put in a ton of time to both make his movements perfect and perfect the way that he teaches them to other people. So I had an excellent example in him, both on the academic side, because I was in classes with him, and on the CrossFit side, of seeing what pursuing true excellence looks like in a coach. So I was really lucky to have that and see that from someone who's, he's my own age, to be like, there's really no excuse. It's not like I need to wait till I'm an adult or, wait till later, wait till I'm older. Being a great coach starts right now. And that, I think, was huge. And then the other cool thing is that at that same gym, we had a client who was blind. She's visually impaired.
I've heard this one, yeah.
So that made me step up my coaching to a whole new level, because you can't say, oh, just do it like this.
Exactly.
Because that client's getting fucking nothing from that class. It's not like we were doing private training with her. She'd just roll into class and do whatever everyone else was doing. If it was light outside, she'd go for a 400-meter run. She'd do box jumps. She did fucking everything. She was fearless, and it was awesome. And she was a good athlete, and would do like wall balls and stuff, even though, she's like also like 5 feet tall. So a 10-foot wall ball was kind of tricky, but just because of her size. But it made me realize how many times I kind of fell on this crutch of, oh, I'll just show it because I'm good at this movement, and people will get the gist of what I'm trying to get across. I had to actually explain and put into words all the things that maybe did come naturally or maybe they didn't. But I had to put them out there as words, and I think everyone else in those classes benefited from me explaining things in words as well, because as Jeff talks about, as Coach talks about, everyone has a different learning style, and it's important to cater to each one.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's immensely important to do that. And, like, I haven't had any visually, have I? I don't think I've had any visually impaired. But
Well, we have one guy right now who's basically legally blind without his glasses. I'm not going to lie.
Who?
TJ, the guy who stands in front of the kettlebell shelf, scratching his head every day.
I don't know. I just thought you couldn't tell. I'm
See,
just playing. I'm just playing.
Sorry, TJ, if you're listening.
Yeah,
to this.
just
We
playing.
love you.
Yeah, I'm just playing. But I have that, and I'm prepared for that every course I teach, especially the international courses. I'm like, because there's a number of things that could happen. One, things don't translate. They're like, there's nothing for that word. Like, people look at me and they're like, my translator's like, there's nothing for that word.
Like when we made those low-key savage shirts, and I was trying to explain to our moms
What's savage?
what a low-key savage is.
Well, it's not even that. Like,
In Spanish, there's no word for waiver. So when I'm trying to explain, like, okay, I need you to sign this so that you don't sue us, it sounds kind of weird. Anyway.
well,
sorry
so
to
like one of
derail
them,
you.
I was just then doing that. I was like, hinge, and they're like, there's no word for hinge. And I was like, okay.
You're like, what's on the door that
So-
makes it swing?
So they say hinge, and they're like, the hinge. And I'm like, okay. And I try and explain it. And it's like trying to go through all that. Like, you got to be ready for, like, does something not translate? Or maybe the translator, not that but if I just did a course, whenever this thing releases, these are filmed. These are done at different times of the year. So don't think anybody that just translated for me is doing anything wrong. But it could be a bad translator. Maybe they just they're not. This is one of the things I was talking about with somebody that did translate for me. I'm like, who CrossFitted? I was like, it's good because sometimes you get translators that don't CrossFit and they have no idea what you're trying to get across. They're just translating, but they have no idea what you're trying to get across. So
they just came from like some kid's chemistry class and then a court thing, and then all of a sudden they're like, oh, okay, workouts.
So I have to like be prepared to, in essence, teach a course non-verbally. Like,
which you do really well.
Yeah, like I'll talk as I'm doing it because it is being translated, but I have to rely on my movement that I'm doing. And how is someone going to walk out as an instructor level thing if they had no idea what I was doing? I did a course in Singapore, and there was multiple languages from people that were there that they didn't have translators there because it was just so much different stuff, and like they were all moving right. I got it right. Now you have to have your movement dialed in. Now if you're also doing like the seminar stuff, you also have to be ready to maybe do in English or not in English, like whatever. You might have the questions, the why. We apply the principle of KISS, keep it simple, stupid, to coaching and training because it's the easiest way to get people to understand things. But when somebody comes at you with they want to know more, you can't just be like, not now. Like you need to be able to engage with them. And I was joking about the community college thing earlier before, like every time I joke to AJ about community college or not liking high school because I barely skated by, she's just shocked because she thinks I'm this like mental giant. I'm not trying to build myself up here, but
you are. Literally one day he was like, I think I want to recreate the cycle that we did in late January, early February of 2012. And that it was when we did that, when you guys did that cycle. And then he sat down and explained his entire thought process, both from 2012 and then now how he wanted to adjust it. And I was like, you don't even know your own zip code. Where is this coming from? It's like a beautiful mind.
Yeah, and that's okay for you coaches out there too. Like, we talked about another one. It's like lean into your strengths too. I mean, don't like neglect your weaknesses, but lean into your strengths. Like programming and mentoring and movement, and these are things that like I love and I enjoy, and I'll just be all about it. I love that shit. And that comes across in what I do, and it's why I'm good at it. There's that confidence thing I was talking about. I know I'm good at it. Like, I am very good at it. Mm-hmm. But the idea behind it is, like, as a coach, like, you really do need to take that into account. Like, can I walk the walk enough to show? Like, that's something I tell coaches, too. I'm like, if you're just like, hey, I can't do this, and you're a coach, you lose the connection with somebody. Like, you need to at least be working towards it. Like, you don't need to be the best athlete. You don't need to be winning the workouts. You don't need to be doing stuff. But, like, if you can't, I'm not going to say a muscle up because that could be a difficult one. But, like, if you can't, like, at least get somebody double undering because, you're like, here's how it's done. Like, they have to see it. Like, you're in a class and there's a whole bunch of people who don't know something and you can't even do it. You're like, well, it's when a rope goes underneath your feet twice. And if you're a coach out there, you're like, that's a rude thing to say, Zach, that I can't do that. I'm not saying you have to do it well. You just have to be able to demonstrate it. Just like if I want to be a lawyer, I have to pass the bar. I can only say that because
Zach's not passing the bar anytime
hell
soon.
no, I ain't. Because I got my girl's a lawyer, my brother's a lawyer, and my sister-in-law's a lawyer.
We got a whole legal team.
Fuck yeah, I don't need that. Hell no. No, but what I am saying, like, you gotta be able to do some of these things. And again, you don't have to be the best at them, but you need to be working towards them and at least have the skill range to do something. And I say the muscle up because, and again, it's funny, I mentioned the muscle up. I talk about the muscle up a lot. Don't worry, guys. I got muscle ups. I'm good at muscle ups, right? And it wasn't one of the, like I said, I could just wildly throw myself over the rings too. But the idea here is like demonstrating things correctly. This is like CrossFit. What is, like, AJ? What is one of the definitions of CrossFit?
Constantly varied functional movements at high intensity.
Exactly. And a large part of what is applied to those constantly varied functional movements is the idea of virtuosity.
Doing the common uncommonly well.
Exactly. And I believe that applies to coaching as well. Oh. All right, guys.
Fuck yeah, it does. Tell him, Zach.
Exactly. It does. If it's your hobby, be fucking good at your hobby. If this is your trade, be fucking excellent at it. Don't sit back and wonder why your athletes aren't getting this success if you're not trying for self-betterment as well. And that's not just meaning in an athletic standpoint, but self-betterment as a coach.
As a person.
As a person. It's the same thing. We've talked about this in other casts too. Like, it's the same thing. It's a big thing. Hell, Kevin was the one who said it. He was like, somebody that can talk to a group but can't intermingle inside the group and work with other athletes as they're going through it too. It's so important. Like this is your trade. I had a fantastic coach once who could not do personal training. Could not. Would throw a shit fit if I ever insinuated that they should pick up some personal. And I'm not saying guy or girl, because I don't want that person to figure it out, because there is confidentiality with the people I work with. But just would not. This person would not do it. And I was like, that's a weak point, that you don't feel like you can work. You can stand in front of 25 people and take them through a perfect snatch progression, and then teach them how to do a strict muscle up. But you can't work one-on-one with somebody because it makes you uncomfortable. Like, but yet inside the group, you can work with somebody on an individual basis. Like, you need to step out of your comfort zone a little bit and do that. So, but that's a great example too, because that person was a great athlete. A lot of my coaches are great athletes. But I also have a lot of them that aren't. And they're just like, I'm not like who so-and-so was, or I'm not like Lincoln. Lincoln is not that person, because Lincoln was a personal trainer before he came to me. He's one of the guys that came through with me. But Lincoln, who I'm talking about, Lincoln, he's not my dog. We have
Lincoln the person.
Lincoln the person. For those of you
He's just as cute as Lincoln the dog, though.
Yeah, Lincoln the person had a degree. He had been a personal trainer before this, and he was jacked. He was super jacked. He was like a bodybuilder. So when people are like, well, I'm not like Lincoln, I'm not like this imposing force, like that just people should want to like, why is someone going to listen to me? I don't look like Lincoln. I'm like,
I'm not American Dad.
Yeah, you can. I'm like, you can be, and this is a big guy if you're listening. We don't tell people this. You can be better than Lincoln. You can be better than me. You can be your own coach, but you have to be walking the path of an athlete and coach. It can be two things, and that doesn't necessarily, again, it doesn't mean you have to be the best athlete. Okay, but if you're like, well, I know coaches that are, and they just program. That's all they do. Like, they're just a programmer. That's it. And well, I know someone and they run their gym so good. I'm like, they're the manager. They're a great business owner. They're an excellent entrepreneur. One of the casts, I was like, hey, man, being an entrepreneur is one of the fucking hardest jobs in the world. If that's going to be your main focus, then it's good to have that. We don't have someone that does that. It's us. So we have to try and make
No one is coming.
Yeah, no, I text that to AJ like at least once a week, probably. No one's coming except us.
The shower's broken. No one is coming.
Yep.
We need a new ad campaign.
Yeah.
No one is coming.
No one is coming. There's always something like that. But the idea behind the whole thing, guys, is if you're a great athlete, don't think you're going to be a great coach, because odds are that kind of vanity is going to like totally let you down, and you'll probably just come across as a pompous ass, and you won't have a good connection with people. And the people that do connect with you aren't going to be the ones you want connecting with you on that like emotional level. And if you're a bad athlete, bad mover, it doesn't mean you can't be a coach, guys. But you are demonstrating to them that they can get better too by watching you. So you have to be walking the path of self-betterment. Mm-hmm. It comes down to us. So,
it's
guys,
it's like the dumbest. I hate this phrase, but so, shoot for the moon, and even if you miss, you'll land among the stars. Mm-hmm. That's kind of if you want to get sappy about it, that's what we're talking about.
Yeah, man. And here's the thing behind it. If you guys listen to this, you're like, fuck, there goes Zach being that like not average coach's coach mentor again. Like he's like, what does that mean? Like, what does he mean? Like, I'm not going to be good at something. You're going to have to work at it. Everyone has to work at something to be better at it. If you're naturally good at it too, you're not going to be able to convey how to do it correctly. And here's the thing behind it. Reality checks are the hardest to cash. All right.
You want to talk about the time that you were using the double under example with an online client who didn't have double unders?
Oh yeah, I was working with somebody online, and I was telling her that like a coach. I was giving this talk pretty much, and I was like saying how a coach needs to be. I'm like, I was like, one of the skills a coach should be able to pick up is double unders. I was like, it's something that if you work at, you'll get. And unbeknownst to me, that this coach did not have double unders, and it was just like this horror was washing over.
Just like stabbing and then twisting the knife.
Yeah, and then like fucking 7 minutes into my soapbox, she's like, yeah, I'm going to work on my double unders. I was like, oh, shit, why didn't I say something else? But that's the thing behind it. And you're just never going to know. You're never going to know. And it's true. Like, I do believe, because I know my own shortcomings too. And I know that usually then the people that aren't naturally the best at something are going to be the ones that are going to be able to explain it the best. And it doesn't mean you're not trying to be the best. Let's just say it like this. I can end it out on this. You're not trying to be the best CrossFitter. You're trying to be the best coach. All right. If you're working, you want your people or your, like the coaches you're working with to become better coaches, or the athletes you're working with to become, you want them to be better than you. So you need to give them the tools to do that. And if they're not naturally better than you, how are you going to make them? By fucking working with them. Give them the progressions. Go out and figure it out, guys. Yeah, there's a lot of reality checks in this one. This is one of the ones where, like, if you hear some of the other casts and they're just like, Zach will get harsh and like give out the like, you know, the reality checks. They're there.
Imagine hearing this speech when you work for Zach.
Yeah. So hopefully if you're sitting in your car, or you're at work, or you're an athlete or a coach, and you're feeling like, man, I could maybe rise to the occasion a little bit more, put myself outside my comfort zone, learn something. Maybe I'm not the best at it, or maybe I am just naturally good at it and skating by. Get better. That's our number one thing we tell. Yeah. If you watch the video, I'm sure you're gonna see
better.
Yeah, you're gonna see AJ's face squinch up when I say that, because it's something we say to each other. And I say it to myself. It's like, you can only come down on somebody enough. Sometimes just be better. And that should be enough. Hopefully, that's something you guys can put in your toolbox, because actually I got to go teach a class, and I'm going to just go out there and be my cheerful self. So remember, when all else fails, fresh tactics.